All right, guys, let's welcome Jason Hook of Flat Black. Jason, how are we doing today?
I'm great today.
New album, Dark Side of the Brain, out July 19th, man. So, how has it been for you, kind of finally getting this record out?
Well, this record was done January of 2023. So I've been sitting on this music for a very long time. And as you can imagine, it's like I've got released blue balls, you know?
Yeah, I'm sure you can't wait to get it out. Well, let's kind of go through a little chronological history of with Flat Black. And it does kind of end with Five Finger Death Punch. Um, what are your kind of feelings on you leaving Five Finger, because you kind of had to leave during a tour and then it was just kind of over for you. So I mean, there was really no I don't was there any closure there for you?
I'll tell you something. Every time I get asked questions about that band, that's the only thing they put in the headline. And then they spice it up a little bit to make me look like uh, whatever it is,
Right.
make me look bad. So um, I'll try to answer the question for you, but I'm at this juncture. I'm like, I don't even want to talk about it.
That's good.
Right? Yeah,
That's the
because
only thing I had for you. So
it kind of just it never pans out, and you know they're a Goliath band and very successful, and I'm happy for them, and that's all I have really.
okay. Well, all right. So that's over. And so when do you start? So when do you start realizing that I'm going to get another band together? I'm still want to do this. All that stuff. When does all that stuff come into
Well,
play?
I'm genuinely passionate about music. I've been playing guitar since I was 6 years old, um, which is a very long time ago, without revealing how old I am. But and my whole life, I've been a builder. I love to build stuff. Um, so even before the prior band, I was always when I got to Los Angeles from Canada, I was immediately trying to find people to build something with. It's very difficult, you know. It's very difficult to break in and get signed or whatever it is that you're looking for. So at some point, I spent a little bit of time just traveling around playing guitar for other people. But fortunately enough, I was invited into the previous band, which where my heart was, because I wanted to make records. To me, that's really exciting. I made an instrumental record before joining the previous band, um, because I was just desperate to create and write and release music and share music and all that stuff. So that's where my heart has always been as a writer. Was fortunate enough to have um, success with the previous band, and with Flat Black. It's just a natural progression. I have a home studio where I work out of, and I come up here every day. I'm working every day, so nothing really changed for me. Uh, it was more exciting, actually, just the prospect of building something from scratch. It's kind of like when Richie Blackmore left Deep Purple, and I'm going way back, and I apologize to your viewers who don't know what the hell I'm talking about, but
Right.
like at some point, Richie Blackmore, I remember him saying that Deep Purple was kind of like I did it with Deep Purple, and then he was craving to sort of do it all over again, which is why he started Rainbow. There's a freshness. I like it.
When you start the process of getting the members into the band, who was the first guy? Which we'll start there.
For me, it's always about the drummer. I mean,
Yep.
I'm kind of old school in the respect that I don't like this. I don't spend a lot of time on drum machines going to that, like I need to sort of like go, here's an idea. Let's jam on this for a few minutes and see if other sections come from it, or because you can audition parts very, very quickly when you're standing in a room with a drummer, and what they hear and what they add is can be so much more energetic and right for the song than to try to figure out both parts out of your fingers on a drum machine. So I had to find my drummer first.
So you enjoy obviously the getting in a room playing with somebody rather than sending a drummer a guitar, a file of your guitar track and a
Oh yeah.
scratch drum track, things like that. That's the one thing I've always talked about on the show too, is there's nothing better than getting in a room with a bunch of guys and just everything locks in. There's an air in the room that you'll never get, file sharing.
Oh yeah. I actually have you can't see the rest of the room over there. I'm backwards. You can't see the rest of the room over there, but I have a whole Roland V kit that is tied right into my studio. So I mean, we can actually play. I have a PA set up. You can't see that, but there's a PA right there or right there. I don't know if you can see it. That's right there. There's a PA behind the console here, so we can actually jam at full volume up here in the studio room here.
Nice. Yeah, your studio room is much different than many dudes' home studios. I mean, it looks like you're in an actual like where they would have recorded Metallica's Black album or something.
Well, I decided early on that if I were going to splurge on anything, I was going to splurge on a tool. The idea is that I don't need a lot of things, to show off or anything like that. I just need tools so I can continue to build stuff. And I thought this is having this facility up here, and I wish you could see the whole thing. But having this up here in my house, it's on the second level of my home, has been invaluable as far as being able to work.
Oh yeah, definitely. So does Nicholas come next, or is it Wes?
Good question. I can't remember, to be honest. I think it was Nick.
Okay.
I think it was Nick. I mean, it took me a very long time to find Rob, the drummer. I'd been traveling around with my amp and my guitar, playing with a ton of different people, trying to figure out the right guy. But Nick was the second bass player that we tried. When I found Rob, it was the two of us sort of on the mission to build this thing together. And with the singer, with Rex, it's a little different because I originally had asked him if he was interested, but he was in Falling in Reverse at the time as the bass player.
Right.
And he said, look, it sounds great, but I think I'd be stupid to leave Falling in Reverse. I'm like, I get it, no problem. Right. And then, so that's when we found Nick, and then Wes became available, and that's when we got him in. So he was sort of like found, not available, then the bass player, and then we got Rex in there after.
Nice. So when you start crafting these songs, you and Rob and everybody kind of in the room together, were these riffs that were previous riffs? How long have you had some of these riffs? Do some of these riffs go back to the 90s, anything like that with some of these songs?
Definitely not the 90s. I have folders and folders of music from the 90s, but it doesn't really apply anymore. I think that I sort of document all the time. This is my best friend right here.
It's a lot of people's best friends.
Sit on dressing room, back of the tour bus, on my couch. This is always available, and the second I come up, ooh, that's kind of, because I'm always noodling. There's guitars all over the house. So as soon as I have something that's interesting, it goes right on here. And then this sort of saves to the cloud. And then when I start trying to work on something, I go to all of the memos that are in the iCloud, and I start pulling them into Pro Tools and working them up that way.
What was it about Wes that made you want to bring him in as a vocalist?
Well, the guy has an incredible skill set. And I knew that, what I'm trying to do with Flat Black is I still want it to sort of be song oriented and not just all screaming and abrasive. I wanted to sort of have a balance. So it's very hard to find guys that could sing well and also do the scream. And not only can he scream, but he can do all that sort of deathcore like that. I mean, he can cover a lot of territory. And I just and I like the fact that he's very much from the modern school of metal. I like that because that's kind of it's a nice it'll be a nice blend for me, because that's not so much, that's not kind of stuff I'm that familiar with, the brand new styles of things. So I think it makes a nice blend.
You kind of talked about writing for this band and it kind of being a fresh leash on life to where, you're not, it doesn't necessarily have to sound like this. You can sound like anything you want. Was there any part of you that kind of had to ring that in and like, bring it in so you're not just starting to write maybe a Mr. Bungle record?
No, I mean, I do what I've always done, and I believe that if you're not chasing a trend and you do what is authentic to yourself, well, then it's a lot easier to repeat it over and over again. So, I like a certain type of music. I like high energy, guitar driven, heavy music. So that's something that I had a lot of practice with in the prior situation. So for me, this was just like time to do another one, instead of trying to reinvent myself.
At what point did you realize that you had enough tracks for a record? How many songs did you write prior to this? Because honestly, 14 songs for a debut record in this day and age is a lot. When I was looking at the album online and I kind of kept going down, I was like, all right, here we go. A lot of bands are releasing EPs and singles and you're coming out straight 14 tracks.
Yeah, I really, again, the old school part of me likes albums. I think, I mean, everyone in the organization keeps talking, maybe we do an EP before the next record. I'm like, just finish your record, man. Like,
just do it.
What I know it's not, I would rather make it very, how people go, oh, that's my favorite record, or that's my favorite Kiss record, or whatever. But imagine if there was like one or two songs that are just floating around and then an EP. I mean, I find that if I have it my way, I would just like to make record 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's it. And it's more work, but I'm not afraid of hard work. And we wrote 35 songs for Flat Black over a 3-year period. The one thing, I co-produced the record. So the one thing I know about being in the production seat is that just make sure the songs are the best songs. If the riff is great on this song, but the song itself isn't great, then that can't make it. They have to be, like the song in its entirety has to be good, all components of it. So to answer the question, there's a tremendous amount of leftover stuff in the wings that will be continued to be worked on for the next album.
Well, I mean, maybe you can release an EP.
Yeah.
When did Chris Collier come into play?
I mean, in the beginning, 2020, I met Chris Collier through George Lynch. He was,
Oh, nice.
Chris and George came over to my house one time a few years back to record something from a website that they were developing for guitar players. And that's where I met Chris. He was engineering all the stuff I was playing, and George was sort of the content wrangler. And so that's where I met Chris. And then Chris was living in Los Angeles. Then he decided to relocate to Vegas. And it was actually George that hit me up and said, listen, Collier's moving to Vegas, so if you have any work for him, I'm sure he'd appreciate it. And I was like, this is perfect, because I'm trying to build something, right? And
Right.
he's such a wizard. He's just such a wizard engineer, guitar player, producer. He's just a wizard. I mean, actually, his nickname is the Wiz, and it just worked out perfectly for me, because sometimes, even though I'm capable of running the entire studio up here, when you're trying to be the artist, it can be distracting to have to like put the guitar down and then do this and then play. Then like it's difficult to do it all, especially acoustic guitars. You really almost can't do acoustic guitars without a second person. I'm over there all mic'd up with the fancy stuff and in headphones, and I can't here, I can't do it, you know. So it was just so great to have a partner to work on it with.
It's funny, man. George Lynch kind of pops up everywhere. You know, he's going to be.
Yeah.
Did he play a solo on this record? I mean, that's kind of his thing.
No, he didn't. But truth be told, I'm a big fan of a few of those players from that era. You
Oh
know,
yeah,
George and Warren DeMartini and Eddie Van Halen and Neil Sean. Anyone who played with feel uh, was that was kind of the player I was into, you know. And so I have this fantasy. I don't know. I would love to get George and Warren D on a track, the three of us.
right.
To me, that would be, for me, like before I die, bucket list stuff, right? May not make sense to anyone else, but that doesn't matter. I'd like to try to do something like that if I could pull it off. I know George would be on board probably.
Yeah, I think Warren might be the tough one to nail down in that situation.
Yeah, he's in the witness protection program.
It's like him and Vito Bratta. You know,
Right.
like find those two.
Right.
How did Corey Taylor get involved? So let's talk a little bit about that on Nothing to Some.
Well, before we get into that, I do want to remind you and everyone else that my boy Chris Collier actually produced Vended,
Oh, nice.
right? Which is Corey's son, Griffin.
Right, Chris.
And Griff. And so Corey, it turns out Corey lives like 5 minutes down the street from me. And,
Right.
and I didn't really know Corey that well. But I went to Los Angeles in the very beginning of me sort of working with people and just experimenting with different things. I had made a connection with his producer, Jay Rustin, who I want to say did a lot of the Stone Sour stuff and all of the CMFT stuff. And Jay's Canadian, so I met him through the Churkos, Kevin Churko, the producer and manager. So we're all sort of the Canadian cartel. I ended up having dinner with Jay, and he said, "Look, why don't you just bring your guitar out to LA and we'll kick around some music and see if something comes up, you know?" So I went to LA soon after that to work with Jay, and I guess he was communicating with Corey, and he mentioned that I was there, and then from there, Corey's texting me, and I don't really even know Corey that well, but just a super friendly, super cool cat, you know, what can I say? And he was sort of saying, like, "What are you doing? What are you up to? Like, why are you there? What are you working on?"
What's going on?
And yeah, and I said, "Well, I'm just here. I'm going to build something, and I don't have anyone. It's just me, and I'm just starting." And he's like, "Well, send me what you got." So I ended up sending him 5 tracks, and he turned them around in like less than a week. It's just like the guy's bionic, right? And so all of a sudden, we're sort of doing this sort of virtual co-writing, and that's kind of how it started. And when I got closer to finishing the record, I asked him, I said, "Would you be okay if I used your vocal for Nothing to Some?" And he was all into it. So you know, just a real solid cat. I mean, he didn't know me that well at the time, for him to extend that as a friend, it meant a lot to me. It was very good for my spirit at the time, because I was kind of feeling down about everything, and to have a Gretzky step in and go, "I'll help you." I mean, I kind of charged my batteries, you know. It was awesome.
Yeah, it's got to be nice, man. So how, you know, records about to come out, everything, you know, you've done the tours, you've done shows, you've put out singles, everything's, you know, like you said, kind of the new album, Blue Balls, all that stuff, man. So how are you right now, kind of just with everything that's gone on, getting from point A to point B with this band?
How am I right now?
Yeah, today.
Oh, I'm good. I told I haven't said anything about this for the duration of the 3-year period. Like, people were hitting me up periodically saying, "Can you want to get on the podcast, or you want to be on the show, or can I interview, blah, blah, blah." And I was kind of saying, well, let's hold it, because there isn't a lot for me to report other than I'm sitting in front of Pro Tools every day and I'm working on songs. There's not a lot to talk about. And, you know, typically when you go on a press marathon, you're trying to direct everyone's attention to something important that's good, that's coming out, you know?
Right.
So having not having been silent for 3 years, I find that now I'm in this tsunami of press, which which is fine. I told the publicist, throw it all at me, as much as you got. I'll take all of it. And so I've been talking about Flat Black straight for about 2 weeks. I actually almost missed this one because I was on the phone downstairs and the publicist called and said, "Did you forget about your?" I'm like, it wasn't on the schedule, you know. So, but it's been great. You know, any opportunity I can have to get out and talk about this record, it's an important opportunity.
Nice. Um, Getting to play a lot, you know, you've played a few shows with Flat Black, a few festivals, you've done the Godsmack tour, you've got headlining shows coming up, more Godsmack shows, all that stuff kind of coming together, man. How nice has it been to kind of get back out and get back out on stage and in a consistent fashion?
Oh, dude. I mean, honestly, I didn't know if I was ever going to play again, truthfully. Um, and yeah, you could put a band together, but even getting to play arenas again, I wasn't sure. I was like, I don't know what to expect. And so the fact that we have been playing, you know, arenas, uh, it's I feel very blessed, you know. It's a great opportunity to grow your fan base. I mean, it's far more advantageous to go out and play as an opener on an arena tour where 10,000 eyeballs can see you and become acquainted with Flat Black than to go out and play in front of 250 kids that already like you and already know you. There's no growth happening there, you know?
Have you brought out the elevated platform yet?
um, no,
Okay.
but it's coming.
You're
It's
dusting it
coming.
off in storage.
Well, here's the thing. Like we're the opener, right?
I know.
So we're the opener. So I can't go. Is it okay if I bring my pyro and then my all my gags? I mean, you have to be sort of courteous to, you know, we're a guest, and not to mention that thing was bloody expensive and required a small crew to run it and everything. And that's
Yeah, a few times I saw you on it, man, it always scared me to death. So.
yeah, it scared me to death too. But you know, anything for the show, right?
Absolutely, man. Well, as we wrap up, Dark Side of the Brain out July 19th. And honestly, man, everything I've heard from it so far, I've totally been into, and I can't wait for everyone to hear the rest of the record.
Oh, well, that means a lot. Thank you.
Absolutely, man. Well, Jason Hook, once again, man, thanks for taking some time here and